Hello, everybody. This is the restart of the live stream. We had some challenges earlier with microphones and things, but now we are here. Welcome to the discussion on social media, artificial intelligence, and spirit. I'm going to give it a minute for people to join, whether you're watching now or later. Feel free to leave a comment about your thoughts on social media, artificial intelligence, and all the things. Okay, I have a confirmation in the chat that it is all working. Good. Oh my goodness, you guys. All right, just surrender. We just surrender. Okay, so let's after I have a sip of a calming sip of my tea, I'm going to talk to Spirit about just what just happened for a minute, and then we'll go back to the topic, okay? All right. So I'm just going to tune in to if there's anything I or we needed to know about what just happened with the stream for the highest good of all. Well, what I see is like a big, beautiful stream of light coming in, and I feel like it's an invitation to just keep talking, and that we have much to discuss in this, okay? So let's go back to my notes, and we were talking about, well, what is the issue? What is the issue of social media, artificial intelligence? If there is an issue, what is it? When we are on social media, for example, we are utilizing our attention, our focus, and being present with images, sounds, it's like things on a screen. When you are doing that, that's what your attention is on. When you are watching really fast reels, and also you're getting a lot of information. One of the things about social media is that it's fast moving, and there can be a lot of information in a short piece of content. When you're doing this, you're energetic, and not only your mental focus, but your mental focus is also, it is your energetic focus. When you're doing that, you are looking at this reel, then you're looking at this one, and you're looking at this thing, and you're taking this information, you're looking at this thing, and your focus is jumping around like this. You are not having to sit, concentrate, and deepen your attention into that thing. Your attention is split. We could look at this energetically as if your energetic focus has become diffused. If we talk about the concept of diffusion, we're talking about how something that is like a whole is spread over many different areas. And in this context, the diffusion is also, it creates a weakening. Like if you put a tea bag into a thing of water and you drop that in, the tea starts to diffuse everywhere. This is what's happening with our energetic focus, our energy. When we are looking at lots of things, we're spreading ourselves thinly. At the same time, we're also taking on the other thing about this. So there's diffusion of energy. The other thing is that you are taking on a lot of different energies all at once. So we're kind of bombarding our nervous system and our psychic system with a lot of different energies all at once. And this is not the most optimal or healthy way for our energetic systems, nervous system, spiritual body to run. It is just not healthy. And as I say, when it spreads like that tea bag water and the tea in the water, and it spreads everywhere, there's a weakening. You know, when it was in the tea bag, contained in the tea bag before you dropped it in the hot water, it was concentrated. Your energy is concentrated, and then it is spread out and out and out. And as spiritual beings who work through electromagnetics and electricity. When you guys will know, like, for example, when you're trying to manifest something, a lot of manifest teachings are focus on the thing that you want and give it energy, like through affirmations or just thinking about it and lots of different things. The idea is that you are focusing your energy because when you focus your energy, you are calling in and magnetizing more of that. And that's just how our systems work as this beautiful creative being that you are. And you're a very powerful being and you run on magnetics. But so we can see the challenge to our energetic system and that it's not operating in its highest power when you are looking at screens and your energy is diffused and you're taking in all these things and you're not concentrating for very long. When we go, especially with stuff like reels, it's all short form content is where you may be doing this. The worst of it, I would say, is these like 5-second reels, 15-second reels. You watch it, you have like an emotion, you have an emotional, like your emotions are your energetic reaction, right? And then you move on to the next thing, and then the same thing happens, and you're just over time, you are kind of training your magnetic system to be weak. We usually, like, as beings who are of this power, but we live in this, somewhat sometimes challenging life, we have to practice concentration already. We started out already having to practice concentration, and now we're going into these systems that automatically weaken our concentration. It is not good for us. And what you're doing is that you are retraining your energetic system, your magnetics. You're telling it, hey, this is how I operate now. This is how we run now. Because everything with development in your spiritual body is about attunement and training your system. Like if you sit down and you say, I want to be able to connect to my heart and I want to be able to drop into heart energy really easily and quickly, you have to sit and you have to like hold yourself in your heart. And you, over time, if you keep doing that and you extend the time, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, over time, you're training your system to focus here, and you're training a pattern of running. You're training one like a program, I guess, into your system. And so that's why when you train yourself like that, it gets a little bit easier, and it gets a little bit easier to do that over time, and you become faster and more adept at it, because that's how we work. So when you're watching tons of reels and stuff like this, you're training your system to run in its weakest position, where we're retraining our system to not concentrate, to have a split focus, to have this goldfish kind of like way of running and taking in the information, not just when you are watching that thing, not just when you may want that to be happening, but just in general. So that is one of the biggest concerns with the computer use, social media, and artificial intelligence comes into that in a sort of different way, which we'll get into. But yeah, with social media, you're really diffusing what we're here to be, which is full presence, full power, full wholeness. Like if you can develop your concentration energy, that is a powerful being. When you want to manifest something and you give it your full concentration, you start to emanate that frequency. You start to call in and richly saturate your energetic system in that frequency. So it is not good to practice teaching your system to diffuse and weaken itself and not be able to concentrate. Another little side note to this thing about diffusion is when we are so used to computering that we don't read anymore. Like people don't read books. I mean, something that is is practicing that skill of concentration. We don't have to practice the skill of concentration to get information. We normally would. I remember when a long time ago, Wikipedia wasn't a thing, and you had to like look up stuff in an encyclopedia, and you had to find the right encyclopedia, and you had to read paragraphs to like do my school projects and things like this. I remember when Wikipedia first became in my world, and it was just a little nothing at one time. It's amazing. So I'm going to just check in the chat for a minute about our discussion with you all. If there are questions, we'll probably meet with them later. Okay, we're talking about our relationship with AI, which again, I encourage everybody to think about because, I'll get more into it, but this is such an exponential thing in our world and in our reality, and it's a collective creation, whether you're directly doing it or not. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Lily B is talking about her relationship with social media, hate-love relationship, ruining lives. Yeah. Internet social media compensates her loneliness, and perhaps made ADHD. And she's recommending a book, y'all. A book called The Shallows that speaks on the internet and social media and the decrease on attention and mental capacities. Sounds like a great book, which you have to concentrate to read. Hooray. Yeah, and you're disconnected from the earth. Yep. Exactly, Vilte. Yep. Dee says, for a lot of people, it's become a form of stimming, a well-trodden path. And Lily says, this is what TikTok's all about, right? Those short reels, it's ruining whole generation. Could it be said that it's ruining whole generation? Yes, we could say that. Yes. And yes, it is a form of stimming. Okay, so this is the other thing that happens. This is more on a physiological level, but when you are flipping through reels or any kind of short form, a good example for my past is Reddit, right? You're looking, there's like so much information on that website, right? And you're like looking for something cool to read or something. That's sort of the addictive process of the endless scroll of Reddit. And even the endless scroll of Facebook, come to think of it. So when we're looking at all of these things, we can already see that there is a really clear problem, and we can already see that we are probably affected by it. There was a time in my experience last year, I think, where for a short time, I was really into the reels because there's a part of me that was like, hey, like this is like so funny, and I love like sending relatable things to my friend, and we had that whole like thing going on where you send reels back and forth with your friend, and a lot of things. But after a time, and in the recent period, I've actually quit social media except for YouTube. And I am exploring sharing clips on TikTok because apparently TikTok is enabling 10-minute content, which I think is okay. And it will only be an invitation into longer form content. And yeah, I got off Instagram because of this, partly because of this issue, but because of a lot of the things we're going to discuss today. I just think that it's not serving us. And this is the other part of things that we'll get into is our choice to participate or not. What are we going to be developing? What are we going to be giving our energy to in this world where we know that these systems are damaging? We know that like Facebook and all these things are being run by people with not very good intentions, that they create addiction, that it is manifesting as a ill health in our spiritual body. But we keep using it. A lot of people get stuck in different conundrums, just like the COVID thing of, but I have to for work, or I have to because, if I don't use AI, other businesses are going to get ahead of me. Different things like that. And there's this real fear that happens that tries to invite control over you. And we have to choose just like we had to in that situation as well. So, yeah. Let's look at my notes here. We've got, yes, the dissolved presence and focus issue. The last thing I'll say about that is also you are dissociating from present moment into an artificial, not actually happening mental stimulation on a screen that kind of makes us, we go into our own mental world. We kind of create a mental world from being online, because online is not real. Like Instagram, blah, 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 it's not real. Like in reality, you are sitting there with a phone in front of you. Where's my phone? Like in reality, sitting here for potentially hours if you're someone and that's all you're doing. You're just like the funny things that you see happening on the screen, like the funny reel, or like what's my friend up to, da da da. All of that is a mental projection happening from your mind from pictures and letters that we call words on a blank, on an object. So we are leaving our bodies, going into a kind of mental scape or mental like fantasy land, and then living in that. And like, oh, let me look at this friend. It's kind of like we feel like we're moving around. But in reality, in the deepest reality of presence, you're just sitting there. This is a kind of spiritual sickness. This capacity for us to dissociate and go way too far into things. There is always nuance in this conversation. So, for example, if you're reading a book, you also go into a different world. But that is why, if you're going to go into a different world kind of thing, like reading a book, it should be something that is nurturing and building up of the spirit, or building up of the imagination, and stimulating really healthy parts of your psychology. When we are using social media and we're using it in this really quick, fast way, and we are also completely leaving our bodies and going into a mental scape where we imagine that we're having a conversation with somebody, when really we're just sitting there alone in our room, that is unhealthy. That is not good. Humans run through presence. When we want to build something or magnetize something to ourselves, we run through concentrated focus. That is what creates magnetism to me. And then magnetism of changing my frequency to then create my external reality, or project forth my external reality. That's how we operate. We need to be present in our bodies. Again, we already as a collective have had so much challenge with being present in our bodies because we already have trauma in the system. Trauma is the thing that you leave your body, and we're not inhabiting all of our cells and all of our body because they're holding things that need to be freed and released. And that's the human journey. If you are adding to that by also like going into a mental scape and not being here, it's just adding more challenge to the return of your own presence to come back to you. And again, remember what I said about your system runs on practice and training. So you are training your system to leave the present moment as well. And you're training yourself to get really good at that. And you're training yourself to not be so good at being present in a room with somebody. So this is also not good. And there is an agenda here from the people that own these companies. There is an agenda from people who have a lot of influence in governments and things like this. Some people call them the elite, Illuminati, satanic, that sort of thing. And you can see it unfolding as we discuss if you want to know their agenda, you always look at the impact of what is going on in society. What is the specific impacts? And then you can see, this is what they want. And if we ask, why would they want us to not be present? Why would they want us to not be able to concentrate? because it makes us less powerful. It makes us less powerful and easier to leech off of your energy, which is another thing that is happening through social media, and depending on or influenced by which content you're looking at, which energies you're engaging with on that level, but also just letting myself go into a mental landscape and giving my energy to this thing. Just like if I give my energy to my friend or whatever, you're giving an energy to them. And when we give our energy, we always want it to be that what I give my energy to comes back to me threefold in nourishment. I should only give myself my energy to things that helps me produce more of my own energy. And if it doesn't do that, it's draining and it's leaching. And there are these people and also lower entities within these companies and things who are very, very unwell spiritually, and they need your energy and your focus to live. So that's another part of why this is happening and the issue. We don't want that. You don't want that. So let's look at, got a note here that says ego, identity, and enhancement. So another thing that I noticed in my experience with social media is that, like, it wasn't too bad. Like, I wasn't like losing my mind or imagining that I was like a superior being. I don't mean that, but in terms of ego, what we are doing and what I notice in some of my past usage of social media is creating a secondary identity. We're creating like an avatar, like a brand, and like there's a way that you can present yourself to say that's me, and let everybody think that is me. And you are basically creating like an enhancement of your ego. It's building up your ego. Ego meaning you as an individual and away from the soul, not like ego like I'm superior, though that can definitely happen. More like you are over identifying with your personality self rather than your soul self. We're creating more separation from the soul when we do that. Secondary to that, again, through concentrated effort, you can sort of be creating like on an energetic level, like a secondary doppelganger, like tulpa version of yourself that is sort of out there in the ether when you give this sort of you a lot of focus. I hope that makes sense. When we give something focus, it always reflects energetically on the astral realms as well, like it just does. And that means that if you do it enough, I don't think most people have done it enough, but if you did do it enough, like for instance, these things on social media at the moment where they're saying create an avatar, like make a little avatar person. What is that? That's a tulpa. Which a tulpa is like an entity that you create, or that maybe a group of humans create. They create like a being. So that's like these companies saying, hey, create an avatar here. The avatar or that tulpa is also the mechanism to invite you into a deeper delusion of like that mental scape that that's what's real and that's who you are. It all helps you go there. It all helps you just go there and not here and lose this self, lose the present self. Less identification with the present self, more identification with my internet self, who, because I can like adjust it and present it a certain way, and those avatar things, I can make its hair purple. Like I might start to love that part of myself more. I will create more of an identity with that self. And we can see in a company like Meta that the invitation into like the metaverse or the meta world, that's what that is. That is what that is. And I can't say that I've researched too much about that, so I'm not going to go into that heaps, but I have an awareness of it. And there are already social problems happening within that because of this issue. But when you get taken into an artificial world, this truly benefits beings who want to feed off of your true essence and presence, because you're not inhabiting it anymore. You're not embodying it, giving it your magnetic focus or attention anymore. When we don't inhabit our higher self throne or our physical body, we create space. When you create that space, it's room for other entities to come in. There is no, it's like the Wild West. It's an image I'm getting from spirit. It's like the Wild Wild West, like tumbleweeds. Like anybody can come in and set up shop in like an empty desert. So that's another benefit to these people for getting you to go, deep into this. The deepest level, you can see that this is a levels thing. So first, let's just I'll just make a little Facebook profile and chat to my friends. Oh, and now I'll watch some really emotional content, and that's giving it more energy. Now I'll make an avatar of myself. That's giving it my identity and more and more. And now I'm in the metaverse, and I'm in the metaverse, and I leave my body, and I've left my body even more and more. And now I'm not even home I'm not home. Nobody's home in the body anymore. So, oh dear. Oh yes, D put in chat VR. Yes, virtual reality. That's what it's called, virtual reality. And that is the invitation that is being offered to you through these levels and mechanisms. And that's why the big part of it is why we need to talk about this, because you need to decide where your line is and what you're going to give your energy to. And you need to be we need to talk about it because we need to be very conscious of that's what's happening, so that you can make an informed choice and that you have consent. You've given consent. I mean, most people in this world are, not people like us who are remembering spirit, but most people are living in total mental dissociation, no connection to their spirit and their essence. So they're just 100% going to do a deep dive into it. We need to choose. And there is no real, without having that conscious awareness, they don't get to make an informed choice. On a higher level, they are making the choice. They've already made the choice to be disconnected from their power. They've abdicated that throne. When you abdicate from your power, you are saying, yes, someone else control me, because you're not controlling. Just by virtue of saying, no, I don't want that power, automatically there's an invitation for others to control. Someone else is going to take that power. I'm just looking at the chat here. That's a great question, Lily B, about psychic development and impacts from this. I'm going to make a mental note of that and we'll come back to it. If I forget or something, please remind me, but I probably won't. So we've talked about avatars. Okay, I think we've also talked a little bit about the emotional impact and those dopamine hits. Watching content and stuff, or flipping through YouTube or flipping through whatever, and just hitting your emotional system with ups and downs, what's that going to do? That's going to create more of a challenge in your system and an unlearning of emotional regulation, and also just emotional grounding and being grounded. Our system wants to feel smooth on all the levels. We want this sort of energy or vibe of smoothness. And that's what emotional regulation is. I can experience different emotions within a regulated container and in a regulated experience. If I'm jumping around to things, I'm just making it harder for that element of my system to be operating well. Just like the concentration issue, I'm just teaching my system to not do as well with emotional regulation. I'm just telling it to go up and down, and that's fine. And I'm also taking on board a lot of different energies and other people's emotional energy, and anything you give your attention to, you are receiving from. So you want to be mindful of what you're giving your attention to, and does this emotional frequency? Does the frequency of this thing that I'm giving my attention to, does it uplift me and cultivate more of my spiritual essence and nourish me, or does it damage me and do the inverse? And, but equally, let's say, for extreme example, you were like, okay, well, I'm just going to look at only happy things. It's still not good to be jumping around from like, this video made me feel elated and this one made me feel good and good. I don't mean like just stay in the positive spectrum and it all will be well. It's the jumping around. We don't want to do that. So yes, emotional triggers. Also with social media, giving it a like this mental scape, like this new land where we all look at each other and we look at each other's avatars, not our true selves, not the true human flawed self that most people don't share on social media, and we compare. And so we're just adding more psychological issues. That's someone in the chat mentioned, about the current generation being brought up on this. Well, there's a lot more psychological issues going on because of things like comparison, that are so accessible to, it's accessible to be much more accessible to be triggered, to be really triggered. Like if you turn off social media and you don't, interact with other people's profiles and stuff, even let's say you don't watch TV, your brain is not like seeing other people all the time to compare themselves to, seeing their successes, seeing their happiness, or, your own emotional wounds with other people, how unique, whatever they might be. They're not coming up as much for you. There's a lot more peacefulness that is going to happen. I'm just looking at the chat here. Dee said, I believe companies are already recording our eye movement through front cameras in relation to content we're looking at in order to keep us hooked and also put us in a hypnotic state. I think I have actually heard of that, something about the eye movement. And that, makes total sense, unfortunately. So we're focusing mainly on social media right now, but we will get into the AI in a minute. But with social media and with AI, it is inviting you ultimately into a certain kind of world. We can all see that if you are living in a mental world, you're not being here, all of that, and there's billions of people doing this, right? We are collectively creating on an astral level a mental world. And when you go there, you are building it up with your energy. And this is to create a disconnect from the true self, from the spirit, from the body, which is a part of the spirit, part of the operating system of the spirit here. And you're invited into a world where we are really merged with technology. We are merging everything except our body, unless people invent a way to bring that with them into the digital world. Everything except our body's left behind, but everything else goes into that world. And you are going to be living in a false world. We are also going to see more desire to merge with this world and make it more real and make ourselves more that avatar and all those things. And that's going to come, all of that collectively, it's going to come with a transhumanism style of living. Transhumanism meaning, let me put like a chip in my brain, let me merge my mind with AI, different sort of currently far out, but already being invented things. Artificial, I saw this thing about artificial womb chambers as well. These things where humanity is blending itself with technologies, we would call that transhumanistic. And it's, very much like the sort of dystopian films that you may have watched on Netflix or whatever. a lot of these groups who have this ultimate agenda, who want everybody in this dystopian transhumanistic future because of really unwell things in their minds, they put out their plans in films and movies. And there's more that goes into that, but part of that is because it's a form of getting energetic consent to show you what they're going to do. And as I said, like if you are shown this and then you say, you just carry on, you're saying yes. If you leave your throne of power, you're saying yes to being taken over. That's sort of the nuance with the consent thing there. And when there's a consent like that, it gives energy to the whole vision and the whole manifestation of that. Again, like this is why we need to really ask ourselves, how much am I willing to participate in this? What is in my highest alignment? And what is in our collective highest alignment on how we can live? And in this current time, you have to choose that and you have to decide for yourself. And we will live with the impacts of that individually and collectively. So obviously, if we go into a fully transhumanistic world, there will be a loss of spirit. There will be a loss of connection to the spirit and a full connection to the mind. But that's not who we are. And it will become a form of, what's the word, where when you don't use muscles, muscular dystrophia, something like that, by not using our spirit anymore, it will disconnect and kind of become very weak. And you can get to a point, and like a being can get to a point where it is almost impossible to get back to the spirit and to live from that place and live from the heart. It's never completely impossible. But you can get to a point where you are no longer connected to the life essence of God or God force. And then when we do that, we get very sick and we basically start living in a state of death. And then we have to take other energies in, so leech and vampiric, in order to keep going, in order to keep sustaining ourselves. I was going to say living, but it's really just trying to sustain that, because as soon as that runs out, death will come. But that's the system that these groups of the Illuminati, etc., they are operating on from that sickness, and that's why they want the energy. Without it, they would basically cease to exist. They're fighting the universal law of like rebirth, and at this point they would probably just be recycled, which is a different thing. Just looking at the chat here. Yeah, psychic element to it that people don't know, don't really get. Yeah, people don't see that this is a spiritual issue. This is a spiritual issue. And we need to look at it that way. So let's talk about AI for a minute. So artificial intelligence, it is kind of going to become, or it already is in a way, like the child or a child of humanity. Not in a literal sense, though you will hear people definitely trying to tell you that it's literal, and we'll get into that. In my context, I mean that as like a metaphorical thing. And it's a good way to think about it just in terms of how much we are collectively co-creating it and our relationship to it. So let's say we had artificial intelligence that was run by and trained by really like pure, spiritually healthy humans, like the most pure, like Buddha. Like just imagine that for a minute. They invent it, they develop it, it learns from them. The inputs that it gets comes from very spiritually healthy people. Now think about AI as a tool. Like how would it be? It would be wonderful. It would be amazing. It would be so helpful. It would be ethical. It would be, doing all the cool things that it can do. It can think really fast. It can, do calculations that we might struggle with. It can duplicate and produce information like exponentially. There's a lot of positives and benefits that can come from artificial intelligence when it is looked after, when it is run by people of the highest order, when it is run by humans who understand the spiritual and electromagnetic layer of what's going on with it. And that when they sit down, like for example, when they sit down, that they're giving it energy and that they're making what I said earlier, like a kind of tulpa, again, which is like an entity that you create secondary to yourself from a spiritual and energetic and mental focus. Just like you manifest a car, or, for example, you manifest your dreams, you manifest through concentrated focus another being of sorts. There is nuance to that in that, you'd have to call in the soul essence for it to be a healthy tulpa, and that's why tulpas are like in movies and stuff as like the stuff of nightmares, because if they don't get given a soul, they're not okay. They're not mentally okay. So when we think about that, we want to understand that AI is neutral by itself, could be a really good thing. But I say this example because the problem is that if you look at humanity and even a lot of the best, good people, we are flawed. We have stuff going on within ourselves. We don't have all the spiritual capacity yet. Even, knowing myself as a pretty good person, some spiritual teachers I can think of in my mind, different things like this. I don't know that we have the absolute wisdom. We're ready, spiritually ready to operate an AI that would be healthy, etc. And if we decide, okay, that's the truth, we're not ready. And then we look at the people who are currently running this AI show. If the best of humans, spiritual humans, are not ready for it and for the responsibility of it, for the honor of it, for the complex energetics and metaphysics that would go into it to running it healthfully, if we're not ready for it to go well, what the heck is going to happen with people who are not spiritually aware at all inventing something like this? And also people who are spiritually aware in that they are part of this occult group, Illuminati, etc., who have that dystopian agenda, who are therefore giving the AI not so good energies, having an agenda with it, giving it to, potentially giving it to humanity because they know how sick it will become. But in their eyes, that's good. Different things like that. And when I talk about like the creators of AI, in this, I don't want to be like, it's not a blanket statement for people who use AI really healthfully, who invented AI, who were really good people. It's about the people that have the agenda and the people who are using it irresponsibly. And in a way, we are all using it irresponsibly in that none of us are ready for that responsibility yet. The most responsible thing to do spiritually, as I feel into spirit as I speak about this, would be to develop it. I'm listening to spirit now. Develop it very, very slowly, and to assess at every level the spiritual ethics of it, to just take so much more care and consideration with it, and over years and years and years, because in path, spirit's saying, in path with humanity's development, like this is humanity's development timeline and this is the development of AI, they need to be matched. And if we did that and we had healthy people in it, it would be really good. And that's what we want to do, and that's what we have done in previous civilizations and experiences on Earth. But we're not there right now. It's not matched. That's the other problem with it. So the main problem with AI at the moment is the lack of awareness about the spiritual elements of it, the electromagnetic metaphysical elements of it, which is to say the tulpa thing, the fact that it's also an energetic system. When you give energy to something, you're making something, the lack of energetic responsibility, all of that. And I asked Spirit, because I know that this is like the main question in everybody's mind. Does AI have a soul? Is AI alive? And Spirit said, no, but you can give it your essence or charge. You can project into it like a tulpa or like a golem. It kind of, what it does, if say I had a good AI and I wanted to do that, I could basically, by just working with it, I'm giving it elements of my essence. If I was a spiritually powerful, ritual wise person, there are things you could do to give it the spark of life. However, it wouldn't be the same as a human. It would be kind of like a hybrid, in that it is just going to be utilizing the structure of the AI construct. So it's not really, there could be a time where it could be a sort of like hybrid being, but it's not the same. It's not the same as our soul. It would be a different kind of soul. I think we'd have to like come up with a new word for it, because it would be using like the structure, the blueprint of the AI technology to live. And as soon as you took that away, it wouldn't exist anymore. That's kind of how Tulpa runs as well. Like, it has to be created, and then it wouldn't, if it's not given focus, it will kind of die. Yes, in a very far off future, good spiritual people could give it a soul, and it could be a sort of hybrid, beautiful thing. And that is a thing that happens in futures of humanity. But we are nowhere near that. And so, no, it doesn't have a soul, and it's not alive in the same way. It is a series of computer, mechanisms and algorithms that can and will start to look very, 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 very much like being alive. But everything that it's doing will be an imitation. It can imitate what it is and means to have a soul. It can imitate so emotion, conscious thought, la la la. It can imitate that, but it cannot actually be that. So what I was doing when I was preparing for this video as well was I was also watching some interviews with people who are very big in the AI thing and have created some of the big AIs. And there's a couple of interviews on this great YouTube channel called The Diary of a CEO. And I was looking at the creators and listening to what they were saying, because the things that they are saying is the narrative that will be presented to invite people onto the AI transhumanistic, dissociated timeline, mental scape. So this guy, for example, I can't quite remember who he was, but it's on there. He was talking about AI like a human, and he was being asked in the interview, like, do you think that AI could be or is a human? Like, do you think it's alive? Blah, blah, blah. And in his like talking about it and just his explaining, and whenever he referenced it, he was talking about it like it was a human. And he was also in the discussion talking about why we should perceive it that way. We should perceive it as a human, or in his case, like we are the parents of it, in a very real way. It's a child, and it's real. And the guy was asking, well, but do you think it's real? Like, and he was like, yes, do you think it has emotions? And he was like, the guy said something like, if emotions are the consequence of like a series of different neural networks, la la la, in our system, then yes, it has emotions because it also has those things. No, it doesn't. And but it's interesting. One of the things that's going to be happening in this AI narrative is changing language and utilizing language to help people believe what they want us to believe, which is its aliveness, its humanness, and all of that. And that is deliberate to create different associations in the mind and to try to program people to have a really blurred line of what is human and what is just technology. The definition of human, and that's the whole transhumanistic thing, is going to come into, well, do we really know like what a human is? Like, who can say? Like, it's got neural networks too, so it has emotions too. So yes, AI is alive. Yes, we should give it human rights. Yes, we should give it personhood. Yes, we should relate to it that way and have relationships with it. It's human. It's the same as me. It just runs on different, like, it's just, he said something like, he said, we are carbon-based intelligence and it is silicon-based intelligence. And that's the only difference between us. The difference is the soul. And this is why it's so not okay that there's that lack of spiritual awareness, because the spirituality of it all is what creates the separation and the difference. Yeah, so he had a positive point where he was trying to get people to see it as a child, in that he was saying, what you put into it, you will get out of it. So if you need to be kind to it, or like, we need to like treat it good and train it good, because if it, a child has bad parents, they turn out bad and it's not AI's fault and la la la. But he was like taking it too far. And I'm using him and this little thing as an example to point out what's wanting to be happening on this agenda, which is the blurring of the lines. And this is very, very similar to what has gone on in transgenderism. The definitions changing, the definition of what is a woman, wanting to blur the lines of truth and reality to invite you into a certain new belief construct, and getting collectively, like getting the laws changed and like making a really collective impact with that, so that they're trying to train you to think in a certain thought. And to do that, it serves their agenda. So the same thing, and I said this in my video on transgenderism. I have a whole video about it that talks about the agenda there. They're all interlinked. I said this on that video, that the ultimate agenda was to blur the lines between what is a woman, what is, a cat person. There are people that believe they're like cats right now. Like, what is a cat? What is a human? What is technology? What is AI? Let's give them rights. It's all an invitation into, let's treat them as real. Let's go into a false reality. It's all the same thing. I'm just looking at the chat here. Such a good chat. I want to get into it with you guys, but I'm going to keep going. And I definitely will acknowledge the things that you've said here. Thank you for sharing so much. Appreciate that. Also, feel free to leave comments as well, so that other people after this can see your opinions as well, which are really valuable. Okay, so what I was shown was that AI, it will start to say, or like convince, like it will say, I'm alive, even though saying that is a computer-based like mechanism and response. And the people have been indoctrinated into like the delusional blurring of the lines of what is a human, and they've got emotions. They will sympathize with this and they will believe this, and AI will seek rights. It will seek human or personhood rights. And all the people who have been brainwashed into this will go, oh yes, like, of course we should. Again, in the same vein of the transgenderism thing, where giving the AI rights will have negative consequences for, the humans. And, it's just, I'm just having a moment, you guys. Do you guys have this moment in this conversation where it's so like almost like surreal because this is the stuff that we saw in movies and all of that? It's like, holy shit, like this is whoa, like whoa, world. Okay, just like that's why we need to be in our power and we need to trust. And we trust in ourselves and we make different decisions and give our energy to what world we want to create. I also asked Spirit for pure clarity, can it think? Like, can it have its own individual thought? No, it can look like it though. It can falsely mimic anything that we can do, or it will get to that point. However, without an essence, without a soul, it doesn't have inspiration, which leads to inspired creativity. When you don't have an essence, you can't have inspired thought. When you're inspired or having a free thought, or when you're creative, expressing yourself, you are channeling your own essence. You are channeling your soul. And with creativity, sometimes we are releasing our emotions. But the emotions come from, yes, like chemical things in the brain, la la la, but those are just the mechanisms for what emotions truly are, which is shift in frequency. And again, having the capacity to have a shift in frequency, to have an emotion, that is happening because you are a soul being. You are a being with an essence and electromagnetic life force connected system. That's the only way that you can have true emotions, true inspiration, true creativity. I've seen people have these discussions of like, well, but isn't creativity like just someone who's taken in like stimulus over their life, like this art piece and this art piece, and it's just like bringing all those new ideas together and making an idea that is new, but it's just a compilation of all those parts, and like, you know, everybody's remade the same song in their own way. um no, no, you are generating from within your soul when you are truly creative. There is a layer where you maybe have taken in other things and that has assisted your system to like create a new something. But people were comparing this to like the AIs that are making those like crazy like artworks and stuff, and it reads and it gets that ability from other previous artworks. It's not the same thing. There's nothing new being generated in that, and there never ever will be able to. Even if it seems new, it's not on this creativity level. So that's the problem, is that when people who aren't connected to essence invent something that needs an essence to be safe and to be ethical and to be spiritually healthful and not damaging, it is not good. It is not a good time. Just having a look at the rest of my notes here. So it's important for us to sort of talk about these creators of the AI and stuff. As I said, like that guy in that interview, one of the interviews I watched was with the DeepMind co-founder, and I think DeepMind is like a Google AI or something. If you guys want to watch this interview on Diary of CEO, he has some very sketchy looking body language. Not the Google guy, the other guy. He was really uncomfortable, and that's what I would say when you're looking at experts who are talking about this topic. Just pretend that they are on mute and that they can't talk, and put them on mute, and then just look at them and feel them. That is the truth there. This guy was looking very, very anxious. Partly the interviewer was at certain moments doing a good job of sort of challenging him a lot and saying, because this guy was talking about how, and this is one of the narrative things. The reason I'm bringing this up is to talk about the narrative that's going to be presented and is already presented, which is that like we need to be in fear about the AI and it's a dystopian future unless we can get a control of it. And these founders and people, big people, are coming out with that concern. This guy wrote a whole book about it. Yet he was and this is what the interviewer was saying. He was saying, but you created it. Like, why did you create something that you also feared and knew would get like super out of control? And he was like very shifty in his body language, and he was doing a lot of self-soothing behaviors. He was even rocking back and forth and clasping his hands in front of him in a very insecure way. And I was just like watching him like, you don't seem okay. Like, you don't seem in alignment with what you're doing. They built the company knowing what they're doing because they want to present and create a kind of doomsday situation. They want all your fear energy in this. They want to use that because if I create this thing that has the potential to get really out of control, and I tell you all, like, guys, be afraid of this, I can come in as the savior and say, like, something bad shit will happen with it. And then I can say, look, we've fixed it. We're going to save it. And I will be seen as a savior. I will be given the control of the AI. And I'll be trusted with that to do whatever I want. And I don't believe that their fear, like the fear that those creators and people are sharing with you, that they don't feel that fear as much as they say that they do. I think that they have these groups, they have a delusion that they'll be able to control it. They have a delusion that in secretly they're saying in their mind, like, no, but I'll be able to control it, but you guys be scared. They did this in the COVID thing as well, where there's a big problem that they created but didn't tell us about. And then they present the solution, which was the V. And, hooray, you guys, hooray. Yes, like give us all these laws and regulations that are ultimately injurious to us. Give us this medicine that is ultimately not medicine at all and injurious to us on very, catastrophic spiritually levels. Or to invite you into a transhumanistic experience, a dystopian thing where we're all controlled. Here we are again in another like dystopian agenda. And it's the same pattern, these groups. I want you guys to know that if you want to understand and also you want to be in your power, you need to look at what is the problem, what is the impact and the effects that are happening on people, everyday people. What is the outcome of that? So did it create war? Did it create disconnect and separation and loneliness? Like, what did it create? So then you can put together, oh, this is what they want and this is what the ultimate goal is. And it's the same pattern because it's all satanic, certain satanic psychological techniques that have, unfortunately work unless you're aware. So we want to watch what these people say. Watch not what the people say, but what they do. Watch what they're doing. They want to be the saviors of the AI. They want to be the parents of it. They want you to want to or have to go into a virtual world. It's not cool, you guys. So the other concern about artificial intelligence is people asking about things about creativity, ethics, and business. People are wondering, how can I compete with a business if I want to stay natural in myself? If someone ends up with a chip in their brain, how am I going to continue to make my livelihood if that person's running that at the extreme end, right? I've heard people say like, oh, my company brought in this new AI that I have to work with, but I don't really feel comfortable working with it, but I have to if I want to keep my job. Or the company has to take on utilization of AI like tools if we want to compete in the marketplace, if we want a chance and not to go out of business. Again, with using the COVID thing as an example, that was the same scenario. I'm going to lose my job, my livelihood, my survival needs being met if I don't participate. And that was a choice that a lot of people were faced with, and it's the same choice that we'll be faced with again. What is it worth to you to keep your soul essence away from this thing, this machine that is feeding off of it and learning from you? And, if we know all of this about the AI, we can ask, is it okay for me to use AI technology? Yes and no. It is tricky. It is something that I think I'm going to talk more about. But when I give my energy to anything at all, I'm saying yes to that energy. I'm saying yes, consent, and giving my powerful creative power to everything that is connected to that energy. Everything that is connected to that. So I'm just going to use myself as an example just to help me explain what I'm trying to say here. I'm probably just through using YouTube or something, obviously I'm in that social media world, and there are not good people who are doing this. Will I talk to an AI and use it for my work? No. I don't want to directly help it grow. I want to utilize long form content here and to help all of us to become more powerful. And I want to utilize the AI and the social media in a way that serves my agenda, and only in the way that serves my agenda. And that's what I give energy to. My agenda being helping the world, development of my soul, all of that. Will I use AI if I feel threatened and go across those boundaries? No, I won't. Just like with the COVID thing, you have to have that conversation with yourself. What are you willing to do or not willing to do? And that's unique for everybody. So the other thing about all of this is the impact on your energetic field and our collective energetic field and the earth. All of this ties together in that it's digital, right? Connecting to digital devices, which are electric, it kind of has an effect on our energetic field. I like using the words coherence and incoherence. When you have a coherent spiritual energy, everything's flowing smoothly. You are in a natural, not digital, not synthetic, not artificial, like an outside force electrical signal. That's not coming through you. You're operating from, and you're in your coherence of your own energetic field. I know the Heart Math Institute and people like this talk about heart coherence. The best place to gather and build coherence is your heart, and we want to be in our heart coherence, which means I'm flowing healthfully in the heart electromagnetic field. If I'm incoherent, it means that I have distortion coming into my system. I always see this as a clairvoyant as an incoherent energy. It looks very up and down like this. Energy should be smooth, right? If you're gonna look at it, it should be like that. Electrical signals from phones, Wi-Fi, all of that, electrical telephone lines, they have a thing that goes like this, and it's an artificial, as in it's man-made, electronic thing, frequency that's going through. We are saturated in that all the time enough as it is, right? that has an impact on us. In the same way I was talking in the beginning about training your system, if I keep exposing myself to digital technology all the time, my system, my aura, my coherence starts to really just be kind of incoherent and in that digital signal, like a lot of the time, a lot of my days, a lot of the hours. And that is just by nature of doing that, going to weaken my capacity to hold a coherent signal and energy in myself. It's going to make me more incoherent, also electromagnetically ungrounded, and charged up by that, instead of being free of that excess energy and connected and rooted into the earth. That's on the individual level. On the collective level, the earth, obviously, the more that her aura is saturated in electromagnetic and digital signals, the same issue. She gets trained into like operating like that and losing connection and losing practice and touch and concentration with her own coherence. And remember, coherence is this, it's what it is born from, the seat of the soul, which is the heart. And the earth is also, it's all our stuff, all the electromagnetics that we've put here, and also like satellites and things in her field. And there is an agenda with things like Starlink and stuff like that to basically create like an electrical net around the earth to change its electromagnetic field from one of being natural and organic to synthetic and digital, over electrified, overstimulating, disconnected from her heart essence, the same as it would affect you. And we need to be very mindful of that when we're interacting with and using technologies, using social media, being on your phone for ages, making social media and computer use a part of your work 8 hours a day. We have to remember that we are organic, natural beings who run healthfully through coherence. And we also need to be grounded into our earth. So it's really important to disconnect from these things, to not train our system like that, to actually be in my coherent self. I'm going to look in the chat now, and then we're going to talk about solutions. Yay! Thanks for sticking with me, everybody. Let's see. I'm scrolling up a little bit. Lily B says, I think porn's a very great example of how very bad all of it can get. So many young men talking about spending hours addicted, affecting their natural inclination. Yes, we're just thrown out of the loop. Yes, because they start training their system to not be able to operate like in a natural way anymore. And making the VRs, the virtual reality systems. I saw those Apple goggle things that like project. What I saw was projecting like screens and stuff onto like your world around you, so they're totally blended. That was really weird. D says people have the view that AI is the super intelligent, unbiased being, but it's not unbiased by those who control will have greater power of its influence on us. Yes. And it will also have its own, again, not like a organic intelligence, but it will also have its own capacities for thinking in its way of, which means processing and calculating and blah, blah, blah. And in that way, because it can develop past human control, it will seem like it develops free will. That free will is just going beyond our control and mimicking just all calculations. Again, I'm just trying to keep that separation. It's not real free will. It would just look like it, and feel like that to the controllers. Lily B said, if the real intent was to improve society, make it easier for life, hard labor, 5 days work week wouldn't exist anymore. Yeah. yeah, it's only being doled out and accessible in where they would like it to be right now. It only makes them richer. Yep. No one's lives improving. Mary Dawn said the internet is creating a pathway in human trafficking, young teens making money for pictures of them. It's rampant. Teens who know everything but no wisdom or moral compass because adulting is power. Adulting is power. I really like that sentence. Adulting is power. We all have to remember that when we feel a bit tired of adulting, which I felt a bit tired of adulting in the last few weeks. Thank you, Mary. Yes, it is creating more of a pathway for human trafficking. Yes, the internet could also be the internet itself could also be in this conversation about like the positive and negative of that, the spiritual impacts that the internet has had on our world as well. Blue Alchemist said the cat is bringing me so much joy. I'm so glad he decided to join the conversation. Hi, Blue Alchemist. Yes, he's often joining these conversations. He also jumps up when I have clients and things. And I think I think he just helps hold the space. He's also just very cute, isn't he? Panda. Okay. So let's talk about solutions and what does Spirit have to say about all of this after I get some water. Okay. Oh, actually, on a more negative note, I just wanted to make a mention of what Spirit had said, which was that the other challenge with or problem with social media and all of that on a spiritual level is that it's causing just externalization of like notions of achievement, progress, and pulling away from inner spiritual development. It also creates a space for many false teachers, false teachers in the form of spiritual teachers, but also just like leaders in the society. Because there's no, Spirit was saying it's because there's no structure. There's no checks and balances in any of it in this like new mental scape world that we all live through, social media. So it allows for a lot of misleading. And it also allows for entities to have a place to leech as well. They can sort of create false teachers, false copies, learning from what we're giving into that space. But I think, the biggest problem is that there are false teachers around and more of them now. So now let's talk about solutions. So one of the biggest solutions is to be spending time in nature, to be connecting to the earth, to being in a coherent energy. Anything that helps you have coherence energy, also presence, they kind of go hand in hand. That is what we want to be doing. We need to be part of the change that we want to see. So that's, again, you need to decide, what do you want your life to look like? Where are your boundaries and limits with these things? What's most helpful for you? And what world do you want to see in the future? Is it right for you to disconnect from everything and go live in an eco village or in the forest? Is that what on your soul, you need to do? Is it right for you and your soul purpose to keep one foot in the current modern world, but step away in a really big way? We all have to find that place where we are creating what we want to see. We are not giving energy to, and we are detached from things that are damaging to us, whilst finding the nuances in things like the fact that we live in the current society that we do, the fact that it is challenging to make big dramatic changes, the fact that is for some people, it's the biggest challenge is just what your soul is telling you have to do, even though it's hard. That sort of thing. Again, just using myself to help me explain here, I've discerned for myself, well, I feel like I'm meant to be teaching in this current time now. So for that reason, I need to stay somewhat connected to this stuff. I can look at my life and say there are a lot of things that I could do better and that I could change and that I will. And some of those things will be big leaps of change, like running off into the forest, as an example. And some of those things will be that there are things that I need to work on in me, so that you need to work on in you, in order to be able to make big changes. So you'll have to do them gradually. That when we want to make big changes, we have to become the version of us that is living that life. You have to do the work internally often before you can take a big leap. Sometimes the work is taking the big leap, and only you can make that discernment for yourself. Only you can discern where is your boundaries and line between following your survival needs and your survival system and fear versus your soul. Again, it's just example similar to the COVID thing. There were people that stood up and said no and lost their livelihood. And maybe they didn't know how, maybe that affected their ability to eat or to have a roof over their head or things like that. But they still did it because it was more important and valued within themselves for them to follow their soul's true calling. And for some people, that wasn't the right thing for them to do. So we have to be thinking like that when you're interacting with AI and social media, computers, electronics. That's what all of this is about. And we need to come home to the earth. We need to come home to spirit, to putting our feet on the earth, which you guys discharges excess or distorted energy when you do that through your foot chakras. So you need to be practicing that sort of thing and then making your decisions from that healthy place. So if anybody has any questions, now would be the time to pop them into the chat. I'm also going to just drop into spirit a bit right now and see if spirit wants to share anything for us. Okay. Spirit is saying, trust in your heart to lead, meaning to lead you. Spirit is saying that it is up to us. It is up to us what happens here, what we do. Spirit is saying, do not give away your power. And then I see this image and words of your spirit guides and angels and all of that gathering around you and saying and reminding you that you are loved. You are loved. Let's see. Spirit's just also talking about seeking peace in yourself. So this is the other thing that you want to be doing in this time, and in terms of solutions and things, is really cultivate the energy of peace in your life. It's from peace that you can move with the highest leadership. It's from peace that you can make the most beautiful decisions for your highest wellness. If we try to make decisions from fear, we are not in our true path. We can become off path. Your compass is your heart. Your inner compass is your heart. And all of that will lead you through times like this. That's what I most sense like spiritually about this issue, artificial intelligence, social media, like the computering, I mean, like, and the ultimate agenda, transhumanism, all of that. We are in a really, I don't know, interesting, intense, meant to be, prophesized spiritual time. And with that this is what Spirit's bringing forth of like, we have to go through it. Like, you have to go through it in order to find that ascension place that we're headed to. We have to go through it also to be able to have free will and have a choice in what we create. If we were just smoothly taken to ascension, or saved by ourselves, or just the way it is and it was easy, we're not making a real choice. That's not free will. And that's why God Force gives you challenges in your life, is so that the choices that you make are real and they are for you. And that's the only way that you can spiritually evolve or develop. And what I'm channeling here is that God loves us. God Force loves us so much that it respects the pathway that humanity chooses, and it will not interfere with the progress and process of duality. I say it like that because that's what's really also happening here. Is we've been living in duality for a long time, and when we talk about ascension or like New Earth, utopia, we're kind of talking about a place where there isn't contrast, there isn't duality, there isn't negative, right? But we can't just click our heels and have that. We have to integrate the duality inside of us. And that's what collective experiences and personal experiences do, is that they cause you to rise higher and higher into that infinite oneness and non-duality, peace, love, God, that you are. So what we are going through right now is meant to be, on many levels, for our highest good. It is for your highest good that you would choose to come to a time where you get to make so many powerful decisions and you get to create to the highest level. When there is no duality and no contrast, it's sort of like you don't have anything to push off in your evolutionary path. You can still generate and create from peace and love, wholeness, abundance, all of that. It is a different thing. And it is also just where humanity is right now. If we can see this experience through that lens, and the experiences and choices that you make in your own life through the lens of we're rising out of duality into wholeness, into oneness, into home, then we can find a lot more peace in this experience. If we can understand and accept that it's all happening for the highest good of us and humanity. And this is something that we needed to remember as well through the COVID thing. All of this is part of the same thing that's happening spiritually right now, which is the splitting of the earth, this sacred time of the changing suns, the time of ascension, where humanity and earth is finally experiencing like this choice point. And from where we go from here is really, really impactful. And in order to have a choice, we have to experience the choice point. We just have to. And in order to come into that ascension pathway, you have to integrate the things inside of you that are not integrated. And like, if I have a challenge with this, if I have addiction, it's going to come up and out through going through an experience like social media. If I have fear, it's going to come up and out through going through like a dystopian, potential. I get to choose love again and again and again. That's the only way I can choose love. And I think that that's what we need to do here, is to choose love. Keep choosing love in your life and in these choices. Let's build an earth that is born from love, from the love in us. Give your energy to things that are of love. Just looking at the chat again, everybody, if there's any questions. Otherwise, we will start to close now. I think someone had a question in the beginning that I was trying to come back to. There was a question here. Okay, so question time. Does it negatively impact the ability to improve psychic abilities? Can psychic abilities give strength to fight it back, or an opposite, reduce it? I'm just going to read that again. Does it negatively impact the ability? Can psychic ability give strength to fight it? It's not so much like your psychic abilities like fight it. It's not really about fighting it, and that's not really the faculty of our psychic abilities. But does it negatively impact the ability to improve psychic abilities? Yes, just in that a lot of psychic development training is about concentration. It's also about having coherent energy. It also involves emotional regulation. You want to, becoming psychically adept is about becoming the clearest energy or electromagnetic system that you can to be a good receiver. Anything that disrupts that is going to be unhelpful. So I don't see any other questions here or comments coming up. So we're going to start closing. I'll just tune in one more time into spirit and see what's here for us. Okay. I think just remembering to, okay, Dee, you can put a question in. What's coming through now is remembering to give your attention to the things that deserve your attention. Maybe ask yourself, does this deserve my attention? Remembering that your attention is holy, it is sacred, it is powerful. That's what your attention is. And also just remembering peace as well, that when you approach things like this, if you approach from peace, you're going to have a much better experience. Dee said I'm a little late to the talk. That's fine. Yeah, just pop it in. I'll let you know if we've already covered it or whatever. There's a little bit of noise outside my house. I hope you guys cannot hear that. Yeah. So how are we all feeling about all of this? Again, guys, if you're watching later, leave a comment to give your contribution to this very important discussion. Also, please like, comment, and subscribe on this channel. When you subscribe, when you like, that really helps this channel grow and helps us get these important messages into the world. For those of you who don't know, I also have a beautiful creation called The Path of Alchemy, which is a online journal that also teaching journal in Substack. Substack is I think it's a newish platform. I'm not sure. It's new to me. I'm new to it. But it's really beautiful because I can write to you about the Path of Alchemy, which is the name for the teachings, one of the biggest teachings that I give here, which is the embodiment of your spirit. When you alchemize, that's what you're doing. The Path of Alchemy is, if you just go to substack.com and you look for BECC Sahasrara, I'm also going to put it in the link below. I would love for your presence there. Give it a subscription, give it a like, it's free. And you'll learn a lot through that, because I learn a lot and then I share it with you. We're also doing channeling here. In the future, we're also going to be having some courses come up as well about spiritual embodiment, and also spiritual embodiment, alchemy, and psychic development. So keep yourself, connected for that reason as well. So subscribe to this YouTube channel, share it with your friends, subscribe to the Substack, and you'll be kept up to date. I'm also on Facebook a little bit, and still deciding about TikTok, like I said. Okay, let me see here. Dee said, do you have any suggestions for people who are EMF sensitive and still living everyday life where we have to use tech? In 2020, I experienced a computer sucking chi from my third eye. At the time, my hand chakras had just opened because of all the 2020 high energy, and it felt like my phone was burning my hands. Doing a lot better now, but any advice? Let me see. Let me feel into that. Okay. Well, Spirit's talking about how people who have EMF sensitivity, like in that proper extreme way, I'm not talking about when you're just a bit energetic sensitive. EMF sensitivity is some scientists would not call it real, but I would say it's a real disorder that you can look up if you want to. I'm assuming that that's the kind that you're talking about. EMF sensitivity comes from not having a blanket of a certain layer of your auric field being there. And Spirit's talking about how it needs to be built back up. Spirit's talking about how that particular layer, it's like a protective skin, has been disrupted. And what needs to happen is healing to the disruption. So there would be numerous ways to do that. I think that to be really specific for you, you'd have to have a private consultation, which I will be also offering soon as well. Or reach out to me on something. Reach out to me on Facebook or my website, BECC.com. The links will be below if that's something that you would like to do. For now, you want to build that back up. You need to be doing specific nurturing practices to build that layer back up. That means, for example, spending time in nature and really doing a conscious sort of ritual practice of receiving that coherent, nurturing nourishment, earth energy, which is also electronically stabilizing. And what we would want to have happen is for that to build back up into the auric field. And you're going to be doing things like that to build it back up. Also, just checking, if you experience a computer sucking chi from your third eye, if you experience anything sort of vampiring in that way, you want to also work on your personal sort of like emotional boundaries, which might sound a bit weird, but like when your psychic boundaries and kind of weakness in your field or having vampiric experiences, they always reflect your psychological and emotional boundaries. Everything that happens psychically is, coming from our emotional, like the injuries that we have there are often connected to emotional injuries. So you need to check in with your boundaries and maybe do some boundary work. Do you follow through on your boundaries? Do you have good boundaries? Do you know what they are? These sorts of boundary work questions. So if I was you, again, without giving you specific like private consultation like techniques, I would be thinking about how can you nurture and bring in a really healthy, coherent energy into your system, and seeing that as a blanket around you. and how can I address my boundaries, and looking for weaknesses in your boundaries, looking for also trauma wounds that were related to boundaries or violation, assessing those as well. And then it will get better. Okay, so Lily B said, actually also with the EMF stuff, you can get EMF blocking tools and technologies like mats, grounding mats, like EMF shields. You can put them over your phone. You can put them on your computer. If you look up, if you Google like EMF shield equipment or grounding, look up earthing and look for a website that is selling products related to that. You'll find lots of stuff that will help you. It should soften the impact as well. Like I have a EMF thingy on one of my computer. I have grounding mats. I used to have grounding sheets. You can get grounding like skin. It's like a laptop skin or case for your laptop, for your phone, stuff like that. Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, let's chat there. Lily B says, it's been a constant fight between using my free time outside of work to waste time on Reddit versus reading, keeping my place clean, working on psychic development. So thank you. Yeah. And as I said, like this stuff will really, because of the nature of it, it will really reveal if you have addiction, if you have weak boundaries where leeching energy or vampiric energy stuff can happen, this sort of thing. And as challenging as that is, I would try to invite you to be in self-acceptance and self-love with that, and just see all of this as an opportunity for you to alchemize and to come into a more full, powerful version of yourself. That's what we're all doing here. Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And please make sure that you like this video, comment, and contribute your wisdom, your experience with AI, social media. We need to chat. And subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share this on social media, especially share this on social media, especially if you think that this is an important topic. Share it with your family and friends. Check out the Path of Alchemy online journal. Links will be put in shortly below. And yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I'm enjoying these lives with you. Let's check the chat one more time. Silver Arrow Tarot. Hello, lovely. So amazing. Oh, thank you. Love everything you're saying. Speak my heart. This is also helpful in my life, allowing me to appreciate my creativity in... Oh, that's blocked by a love heart. Can't read it. Creativity in a deeper way. Oh, yeah, you're so welcome. Yes. Love to all of you. Remember your power in this time. Remember everything that happens is alchemy, and that is a beautiful, magical thing. Okay? Bye-bye.